The Bastrop EDC Board reserves the right to convene into executive session at any time during the meeting regarding any agenda item in compliance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Chapter 551 Government Code. We'll call this meeting to order. And do I have any public comments? So we don't have any public comments. Just a quick note for those of you.
Go ahead.
We're going to move item 3.5 on the agenda. We're going to move that right after 3.1. So just as we move forward so we don't get out of order there.
One other note, starting with this meeting, we will be live streaming the EDC meetings through the City of Bastrop television station. So if you would like to at some point watch at home or tell your friends, it will be live streamed from this point moving forward.
Agenda item 3.1, approval of meeting minutes of the regular board meeting of September 18th, 2017.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. Moved and seconded. All's in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Now we're going to go to item 3.5, which is consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve resolution R-2017-0018 of the Bastrop EDC acknowledging the Coughlin Group's substantial compliance with the terms of an economic development agreement and authorizing the release of the balance of the incentives due under the economic development agreement.
So in your packet, you have a memo from myself as well as resolution 2017-18 and the appendix to that. The Coughlin Group entered into a performance agreement with the EDC back in 2014 to expand their facility in the Bastrop Business and Industrial Park. Mr. Coughlin came to myself and to the EDC staff and asked to be considered for an early release from their performance agreement. We visited with legal counsel at Denton Navarro, and Habib is here tonight, and he submitted a formal request letter. We went through and looked at the numbers of his investment as well as the job creation that he has had to date, and he has more than substantially complied with the intent of the agreement, more than doubling his capital investment in the park. This was originally a $10,000 rebate, $5,000 of which has already been rebated to him for receiving his certificate of occupancy on the expansion. The remaining $5,000 would be released with the approval of this resolution. It's the recommendation of EDC staff and legal counsel to approve resolution 2017-18 and to provide Mr. Coughlin a mutual release from his performance agreement.
I was just wondering, can we be more explicit on the head count? I looked at the agreement and it wasn't very explicit as to timelines and averages and things like that. So, I mean, your letter states that there's a certain head count at certain dates. I'm not sure if that was at end of December of those of 15, 16, and 17 or averages or what.
It's at so once they receive their CO, that starts year one. And so it's on the anniversary of receiving their CO is when we do the head count. So it's not on an annualized basis or a specific quarter. It's once they receive their certificate of occupancy, it starts the clock, the number of days for the first year. And so at the first year anniversary, they report their head count and so forth moving forward. And so it is variable depending upon when they receive their CO. And that is typically how we structure their deals. Everything before their CO is considered year zero, and it can be 18, 24 months, 12 months to get constructed, but once they receive their CO, that's when we start counting jobs, and it's on the anniversary of that CO that they provide their head count back to us.
And would it be the 3-year average of 39?
That is correct.
Okay, all right.
Well, I move that we approve resolution R 2017-0018.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Going now back to item 3.2, presentation and discussion regarding the Bastrop EDC being awarded the 2017 International Economic Development Council Silver Excellence in Economic Development Award, a population less than 25,000. Sean?
So as y'all may remember earlier in the year, the EDC went up to Dallas, to Plano, and received the Workforce Excellence Award from the Texas Economic Development Council for our Youth Career Day. We were also nominated for an award this year for human capital with the International Economic Development Council, which is a minimum of a 3-year period for running a career program. And we received the Silver Award in Toronto at the IEDC conference. We did not go and collect that, they're mailing it to us. And so we just wanted to recognize that we'd received the award. And again, thank Jean Raymond-Snyder, who heads up our Education Workforce Development Program. Angela Ryan works with her on that program, as well as all of our partners from the school district to the Chamber of Commerce to the Workforce Solutions folks here in Bastrop, and all of our community partners that step up to help put that event on. To be recognized twice in the same year for that award is showing that we're doing something that is good. And I know Jean gets calls on a fairly regular basis about our program, and other schools and EDCs looking to copy our program and the success that we're having with it. I know that we're already in the planning stages for this year's Youth Career Day in the spring, and this is to recognize all the hard work of the EDC staff and all of our community partners that participated in this. The press release is attached in the packet, and I know Mary has already covered this in the Bastrop Advertiser, so thank y'all.
Moving on to item 3.3, presentation and training by Aaron Farmer with the retail coach regarding Bastrop's retail recruitment strategy. Welcome, Aaron.
Well, appreciate the opportunity to be here. I know a couple of you, but for those that I don't, it's good to meet you. My name's Aaron Farmer. I'm Senior Vice President at the Retail Coach, and we've had a long-term relationship with Bastrop, and looking at the retail opportunities that exist here, how to get in front of potential national and regional retailers and restaurants, and really trying to put those two things together. So Sean thought it would be a good idea to just really give you an update on the process and kind of explain to you what this process is, where we are. So I put together just a short presentation on this. But before we get into the actually talking about Bastrop, I've gotten a couple of questions recently. Sean and I were talking about this and Jean on the phone just the other day. If you listen to the media, if you watch TV, those sort of things, you hear that retail is having trouble because of Amazon and those sort of things. And we're lucky we live in the region we live in because we're not hurting nearly as much as other regions as far as retail goes. So I wanted to just share a couple of slides with you on what the industry is doing. So really, there's four things that are really impacting retail right now. Number one is the economy. And how is the economy doing? You know, stock market, those sort of things. That's impacting retail. Also, the encroachment of e-commerce, which we talk about Amazon, we talk about all of these other things. Retailers are having to shift the way they think. Not all of their retail sales can be in brick and mortar. Now they have to go online, and Amazon is really leading that. Also, our president, Trump, is having an impact on retail. We knew that coming in. That usually happens in an election year, coming out of an election year. And then millennials. And really in this region, with the growth of new millennials coming into the market, that's something that's impacting retail as well. So really, online retail sales are growing at an annual rate of about 10%, and that's from 2012 to this year. By 2017, the web will account for about 10% of all U.S. retail sales. On the way over here, I had somebody at the office look up. There's some conflicting numbers on this. Some say it's up to 14 to 16% right now, our online sales. But at the end of the day, what this tells us is there's still about 86 to 90% of retail sales that are occurring in brick and mortar stores. So it's not as bad, it's not as doom and gloom as we hear. The most recent term I've heard is retail apocalypse. That's not the case. Retail is still coming in. You're seeing that with retail happening here as well. But one of the main things that we're seeing happen right now is these retailers are shrinking the size of their stores. Okay, so whether it's Walmart, whether it's Costco, or even some of the smaller restaurants, Jason's Deli, for example, they're not doing their larger footprints anymore. They're shrinking the size of those, maybe doing 5,000 to 10,000 square foot Jason's Delis. This is something we're going to continue to see over the next few years as those online sales continue to increase. We're going to see the physical stores and the store size shrink for a lot of these retailers. Now, I'll tell you, that actually bodes well for Bastrop because, maybe you weren't ripe 5-10 years ago for, 120,000 square foot Costco store. Well, now that they're rethinking their models, now that they're going to start doing smaller concepts, are you a fit? Possibly. Some of these restaurants, the same thing. Maybe they didn't want to come out here with a full-size restaurant, even though we know they could be successful if they open it up. Shrinking the size of their stores, like I said, that bodes well for Bastrop. So, real quick, what we're expecting over the next few years is retail growth is going to be driven by the restaurant sector. And you can see that no matter where you drive in the region. Restaurants are coming up out of the ground like crazy. A lot of that is that quick casual restaurant. So your Chipotle's, your Panera Breads, your Zoe's Kitchens. Those are the types of restaurants that we're seeing expand rapidly. A lot of the pizza places too, the Mod Pizza, Blaze Pizza, if you're familiar with that. So we're expecting restaurant growth to continue. We're going to see more restaurant growth. You're getting to that threshold of population where I expect to see some more casual sit-down restaurants starting to look at this market. We already are talking to some of them. So that'll continue to be the case here. What's really causing the restaurant spending and the restaurant growth is we finally surpassed grocery spending with restaurant spending. So we're actually spending more out to eat at restaurants than we are at the grocery store. So that's what's starting to drive. That's one of the reasons that we're seeing the growth in restaurants as much as we are. So this was staggering to me. Growing up, all of us growing up, I feel like it was you ate at home most of the time. And now it's just easier a lot of times to go out to eat, convenience, those sort of things. So we're expecting, like I said, that restaurant growth to continue. We're also seeing a little bit of a change in the supermarket business. In the past, it was really the mega stores. So whether it was H-E-B Plus, whether it was Kroger Marketplace, some of these larger stores, whether it was Randall's. What we're seeing now is a shift to the more smaller, more intimate type grocery stores, the more neighborhood style grocery stores, whether that's somebody like Aldi, if you're familiar with them, or somebody like Lidl, which is just now moving into this market. We're seeing that happen. You are still seeing Walmart grow. What's interesting is Target is just now starting to expand again. They've been on hold for about 5 or 6 years, really hadn't done anything. They're starting to expand again, but they're coming in with a smaller footprint. You can see that too with Target. If you've been to any of the greater Austin area Target stores, almost all of them right now are going through a remodel. Whether that's the one on Brody Lane or somewhere else, you're seeing the remodels happen, and that's signaling to us that Target's getting ready to expand again. Costco I mentioned already, but they're coming out with a smaller concept. Now some of the other store openings, and then I want to talk specific to Bastrop, we're really expecting those off-price retailers. Now whether that's TJ Maxx, Ross, Nordstrom Rack, those we're seeing them expand rapidly. We call those the junior anchor stores. So they're about a 20 to 30,000 square foot store. TJ Maxx would include home goods in there as well. The grocers that are expanding, Whole Foods, they've come out with that new concept 365. They're going to be expanding that. They're still showing growth now that Amazon has purchased them. They're still expecting to grow there. So we'll see what happens there. Sprouts is continuing to grow. And then the discount stores are growing as well. We can scratch out that 300 on Walmart right there because we just got some new numbers in. With Walmart, they're only looking to open about 60 stores now. So last thing I'll point out here is quick service restaurants. Chipotle, 180 new stores. Just don't try the queso. I've heard it's not very good. If you've seen it, sorry.
These meetings are recorded and live streamed.
Sorry, Chipotle. So Panera Bread is another one that's expanding rapidly, but it goes back to that quick service restaurant Moe's Southwest Grill is another one that's moving into the market, and the pizza stores as well. So I just wanted to kind of give you a real quick update on what the market's doing. So we're expecting retail is not all doom and gloom like it seems. Actually, we're in one of the fastest retail growth markets in the country, which is awesome. So that's going to continue. But I want to talk to you real quick about specific to Bastrop. And if you've seen a presentation from us before, you've heard me talk about the retail trade area. Bastrop is unique. For a town of the size that you are, to have a trade area as large as you do, that's unique. I can't think of a community that same size as Bastrop that has as large of a trade area. You can see the trade area up here on the screen, and the yellow area there is where you are pulling people from on a consistent basis, okay? These are your primary consumers. If I'm a retailer, I'm a developer, this is the trade area. This is what I'm interested in. I'm interested in knowing where your consumers are coming from. Trade area cuts off a little bit to the west as you head towards Austin. That makes sense because there's other shopping opportunities in Austin, but you are encroaching on Austin. Goes out to the east, a good direction, but then it goes all the way south to Interstate 10. And that's hard for a lot of retailers to believe, but it's the case. Those people down here to the south, some of the communities, Welder, Weimer, those areas right there, their choice is, do they go all the way into Houston? Do they go to San Antonio? Or do they head to Bastrop? And a lot of those, from the cell phone analysis we did, we were able to track, they're coming here to shop. So that's the reason why you have some of the retail you have. That's the reason why, developments such as Burleson Crossing, your Walmart, your H-E-B do so well, is your trade area is so large. So right now, and actually I'll talk about it here in a minute, I wanted to share this with you. I tracked the demographic trends going back 5 years, back to 2013. And the first thing we've got on the screen here is the population. So this was the population in 2013 of that trade area. You can see it's steadily increased over the last 5 years to where we're almost at 200,000 in the retail trade area. That's what's getting retailers, that's what's getting restaurants' attention. You'll also notice a steady increase in average household income. So 58,000 back in 2013, kind of coming out of the recession there. We're up to 72,000. There was a little bit of a drop here. I'm not sure what that was about, but we're up to 72,000, over 72,000 in the retail trade area from an average household income standpoint. Now, retailers look at a couple of different things, and these are some of those here: population, average household income, and then age. Those are big things to retailers. Now that we're over 70,000, that's huge. Being able to go to a retailer, some of these that maybe hadn't looked at Bastrop in the past, maybe thought that the incomes weren't quite high enough, this is really a game changer. So I thought this was interesting to see. Just in the last 5 years, that trade area has gone up about 40,000 people, which is just a huge number there. So when we go to these trade shows, when we're reaching out to potential retailers, restaurants, and developers, we're looking at we're taking to them these numbers, but 193,000 in the trade area is a very large population. Every year we do a cell phone analysis. The trade area grows from a geographic standpoint every year based on where those people are coming from. So the trade area is a little bit larger here in 2017, but we're able to go to retailers and say, look, you're up 40,000 additional people that are shopping here on a regular basis. And once we had that trade area determined, we took it to Best Buy. We took it to other retailers in town and we said, can you confirm this? We took it to the downtown merchants as well, some of them, and they were able to confirm that this is where they were pulling people from. So as we go forward, we want to definitely sell Bastrop as a trade area population versus a city limits population. Just opens you up for a higher caliber of retailers, restaurants, and development. I've got a few more questions. I've got a few more slides. Any questions?
Yeah, go ahead. I see that the income went from, it's like a 10% increase, is that right?
Yeah.
Over 10, isn't it?
20%,
yeah. I mean, that's a huge income. Is there any explanation of that?
I will tell you, it's consistent with other markets. So we work out in Dripping Springs and some other areas, and we're consistently seeing the incomes go up in the greater Austin area. So,
is that for that household income? That's for residents of the defined
yes,
geography
exactly,
that you've just
of that yellow
described?
retail trade area there. So
okay.
We are picking up some areas in East Austin that are, you're seeing some increasing incomes move out to those areas, some gentrification, some of those sort of things happening in East Austin. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. Gosh, I mean, every time I run the analysis, I'm like, it just keeps getting better. So I think it just happens to be where you're at, where you're located from a growth standpoint, people moving out in this direction, new housing developments going up, those sort of things.
Okay.
That kind of is a great segue.
Sure.
My first question is, you say that your data is based on cell phone analysis. We want to be a little more specific with that, please?
Yes, absolutely. So the way it works, we have a partnership with a company that does exactly that. It's cell phone analysis, and they're able to track consumers. And I'll go ahead and say this. We do not sell this data. Nobody else sees this data except for us. But as long as you get a phone call, an email, or a text, or you use an app while you're shopping in one of these stores, we get a ping off of your phone, and we can actually tell your home address based off of that. So it's actually not looking at your billing address. So, some of you might have business phones. It's actually not looking at your billing address. It's looking at where do you spend your time between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. So we're tracking you, where do you spend your time? And
Okay, my second question is that if what you're saying is that the population has increased by 40,000 or roughly almost 25% or close to it.
Sure.
Are you suggesting that that population increase is taking place within that defined area in the greater Bastrop County area? Because if I look at that, how do you match that up with the number of rooftops that we've had over the last 5 years?
So it's looking at a much larger area than the Bastrop County area. So we're actually looking all the way down to Interstate 10 and further east, Carmine, and some of the areas over here. So it's much larger than one county. So we're pulling those areas. A lot of the growth that we're seeing here is in this area here. As you encroach in Austin, it's that area that's growing rapidly that is leading to a lot of that 40,000 people that have grown there. So it's that's where most of the growth is taking place in that area. Then you've got the growth in Bastrop, but then not nearly as much growth in the more rural area here.
Yeah, one of the things that I remind when I speak publicly on this topic as well is our HEB Plus here, when you think about the next HEB to the west of us on the 71 corridor, you're either going to the store on Riverside Drive or 7th Street in downtown East Austin. And the city of Austin actually did a USDA food desert study a couple years ago. And between Cedar Creek and the airport there, that's actually what they call a USDA food desert. In a rural community, there's not grocery within a 5-mile radius, if I remember the rule correctly. And in an urban setting, it's a grocery store within a 1-mile radius. And so you look at Columbus and those folks that live down on I-10 at Columbus and 71, if you need to go to a Ross or a TJ Maxx, your choice is to drive back into Katy, it's to drive back into San Antonio, or come up 71 into Bastrop. Now, what I speak on locally is the challenges we're going to face in the next 24, 36, 48 months at the 71 and 130 corridor. There's a 390-acre mixed-use development that has its site plan approved at the City of Austin. This map changes every year in what that geographic territory is, and that's why the cell phone analysis that we do now is so important. We used to do what was called a license plate analysis, which is even more intrusive than the cell phone analysis. You don't want to know how we do that. But that's how we determine this trade area and where these people have a propensity to go shop in Bastrop related to the goods and services that are in our neighboring communities. Now, as Elgin gets additional shopping, we expect that trade area on the north side of us to retreat. We expect 71 and 130 over the next 24, 36, 60 months to retreat. And if something happens down on I-10 that there's a midway point development between San Antonio and Houston, the same can occur. That's why rooftop growth today is so critically important, not just from a job and workforce standpoint, but it's also critically important to make sure that we keep our trade area demographics as that big footprint we have today starts shrinking in square miles, that we don't go from 190 to 120 overnight because new shopping centers got built. It's why residential growth in Smithville is good for us, because those folks have a higher propensity to come shop here because they're 20 minutes down the road.
What we found right now too is some of those people that live towards East Austin, they would rather come out here, avoid traffic, whether it's 7th Street or the other location there of HEB, they'd rather come out here and shop, especially with the remodel of the grocery store and or the addition of the grocery store and everything that goes with that.
And off of 973 there at 130, Whisper Valley is under construction and delivering new single-family units, and that's going to be a 7,000 unit subdivision. RSI Community has another 1,500 unit community right up the street. Where do you go if you're going to the grocery store if you're those folks? Do you drive into Riverside to fight that traffic? Do you drive into 7th Street to that small store? Or do you, when you're home on Saturday, do you turn and come to Bastrop because it's easier to get here, get in and out?
Yeah, and so far, what we're seeing with some of those households that are coming up in that area is they're choosing to come this way, which obviously bodes well. And I think a lot of that has to do too with the awesome downtown you have, and having more unique retailers, unique restaurants, and those sort of things to kind of hit up all of those things when you come to Bastrop. So we need to continue to keep this trade area in front of these retailers and restaurants. It's a strong trade area. Like I said, I can't think of a community that's the same size as Bastrop that has a trade area the size of Bastrop. So real quick, we have put together a number of different reports. We're in the process of updating reports. Everything that we do, we want to make sure it's up to date. If we're going to send information out to a potential retailer or restaurant, if we're going to sit down with them at a meeting in a couple of weeks, we want to make sure everything is up to date. So we're in the process of updating all of that. Everything that we send out to retailers and to restaurants about Bastrop is customized to them. So if we're going after a restaurant, for example, like is on the screen here, it's going to be customized for them. It's going to have their logo on it. At the end of the day, we want to show these restaurants and these retailers that Bastrop has taken the time to customize what they're sending out. Big mistake I see a lot of communities make is they will send information out or just generic packages of information. Before working at the Retail Coach about 11 years ago, I was a site selector, and I would get information all of the time, and I would look at the ones that were customized. I really didn't care about the generic information. So we are putting together all different types of marketing materials, whether it's feasibility packages, which are basically marketing packages, where we're trying to convince retailers and restaurants they can't afford not to locate in Bastrop. We've got a retail-specific website that has data on there. We've got an interactive mapping application, which allows Sean and his team to actually run their own reports. Say if you're sitting in a parking lot and you've got an iPad, you can run a report and send it directly to a retailer or developer. And then lastly, just a couple other slides here. We are actually doing the recruitment, working with the Bastrop team here. Really consists of several different things. Number one is in-office visits. Anytime we can get a broker, a retailer, or a developer to Bastrop, that's the best possible scenario. Phone calls, meetings with them off-site are great, but if we can get them here to look at specific sites, that's going to speed up the process. We also attend retail conferences, and we'll talk about that. And then we're emailing, we're sending out information, phone calls. Again, everything is customized. We want to keep Bastrop top of mind with these retailers and with these restaurants. Some of the trade shows that we're attending, upcoming trade shows, we just got back, I guess, a couple of months ago from the ICSE Recon Conference, largest retail real estate conference in the nation. We were representing Bastrop out there. Sean and his team were at the Retail Live Conference in Austin, which takes place every year. Similar to an ICSE event, you get in front of more regional, national retailers that are here based in Austin. And then ICSE Deal Making, which is coming up in 2 or 3 weeks, November, in Dallas. And this is a great chance. If retailers, developers, or brokers are at this conference, you know they're doing deals in Texas. So we've set up a couple of meetings already, and we will continue to do that as we move forward. But it's key to be at these conferences. You can see what our booth looks like at these conferences. I mentioned that interactive mapping application that we put together where you can run your own reports and do those sort of things. We've got that. You can kind of see what that looks like here. We're going to be trying to use that a lot more this year, using that a lot more going forward, giving access to even some of the local businesses to have access to that. We talked about maybe putting it on the website and making it available. Is it already on the website? It's not. We talked about making it available on the website. But, in a nutshell, retail recruitment is a process and it's not an event. And you know, I'm what I would call a huge champion for Bastrop. I mean, we were out here 7-10 years ago. We knew that the retail eventually would come out here because you're in the path of growth. You know, your trade area is as large as it is, but we're expecting some good things. We know of several projects, several brokers and developers that are looking around right now. I think going forward, a focus is going to be on the development side of things, getting in front of developers. That is key. You know, it's all about relationships in this business. I learned that a long time ago. It's not necessarily about what you know, but it's about who you know. Same thing works with developers. They have relationships with retailers as well. So we're kind of taking that two-pronged approach, going after retailers and developers at the same time. But just wanted to give you a quick update on the process, and really are excited about the next couple of months, excited about the ICSC conference that's coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Aaron, could you possibly put that presentation, can we have that downloaded on, it's not in our packet, and it's great information. I'd
Awesome,
like to
sure.
have it to reference. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Any other questions, comments?
All right, we'll keep you all updated throughout this process, but thanks for having us in.
I'm sorry, I didn't have one. Okay, as our retail area shrinks in terms of square miles, how's that going to play in the recruitment effort?
You know, what we hope is that growth will continue. We hope that, you know, Sean mentioned some of those households that are developments that are coming in. Just because your trade area shrinks is not necessarily a bad thing. As long as we can keep that growth, as long as we can keep those new households in. At the end of the day, retailers just care about that total population number, total number of households. So it shouldn't impact us too much as long as that growth continues like we expect it to.
Great. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you all.
On to item 3.4, presentation by Stone Cobalt Partners, finalists for the 921 Main Street project.
As part of the RFQ process, request for proposals and qualifications for 921 Main Street, once the board selected a finalist, part of that, the requirement was for them to come and make a public presentation about their package and what their vision is moving forward to not only the board but also the community. We have two members of the team here. The third one is on his way back from Colorado at the moment. But Eric Davis with KSA Engineering, as well as Guy Dudley from Stone Development are here tonight to kind of walk y'all through what their vision is for 921 Main, and we will have a discussion in executive session later related to their project and the real estate side and the economic development negotiations and where those are going.
And am I forwarding this, or and will it come up? Oh, look at that. It works wonderfully. I sent it to you.
Send me your slides early, they get put in.
Everything gets just right, like it should. You know, I was here a year ago. My name's Eric Davis. I'm the Development Services Manager for KSA. We're a planning, engineering, and architecture firm. We've got offices throughout the Southwest, including Austin. I was here a year ago, and I had to follow Aaron, and now it's another year, and I'm having to follow Aaron. Next year, when I'm here, I don't want to follow Aaron anymore, okay? I'm tired of it. So I have a quick few slides, and then we'll put the developer up here. I want to give you a little bit of history about how this project came together. I know most of you all know this. You certainly know what your mission is, but I wanted to remind you that your mission is to provide residents meaningful and rewarding employment opportunities and greater access to desirable goods and services, okay? We think this project at 921 Main does that. We hope it does that if it's successful. What happened? What's the history? In 2013, the city acquired an empty lot for a building for a building, an empty lot that had a building that was burned out a number of times. I believe it was 2013. Was it prior to that? Was that about right? And in 2016, about a year, it was that it got burned out. I don't know when the city acquired it, but somewhere along in there. So the BEDC paid an astronomical sum of $10, I understand, for this land from the city of Bastrop. $4, I'm sorry. You did better than I thought. About a year ago, you hired KSA to do a study about what to do with that piece of land. And those included do nothing or maintain it just as it is, a pocket park perhaps, or build a building. What we saw was some progressive deterioration of the rear wall. That probably does need to come down. You've got some problems with leakage of water problems, penetration problems on either side. We just last month subbed out a study to talk about what happened to 919 Main with all the water penetration that happened there. Terracon, our sub, came out and did that last month. The Texas Historical Commission's Town Square Initiative came out, did a full report. They said the highest and best use was for a 2-story building. Your board said the same thing a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, and you came out with an RFQ. Over time, the weather has caused problems on this site. It looks bad. It's got some drainage problems. You've got neighbors that are not overly happy with the way their walls are leaking. Internally, just internally as a city issue, it's a blemish on Main Street that you don't need there, shouldn't have there. And it's unusable space. It's not creating any property tax or sales tax right now. And then we call this philosophical, but it's more of a board question of what can we do with the land to better serve downtown and to use the asset instead of just letting it sit there. So with that, I will turn this over to Guy Dudley. How I got involved with this is I work closely with Sean and his staff, and I work to try to find developers that want to come to these areas. Now, I'm not an engineer. I do that because if we can get on in early in the process and bring developers deals, then we end up getting the engineering and the architecture out of it, and so there's no secret to that. I know Guy and his partner, Tom Moat, very well. I work closely with them. Tom Moat is Cobalt Development. This is a joint venture. I brought both these guys in. They said, let's just do it together. We've never done anything together before. Guy can tell you a little bit about Stone, but Cobalt Development is probably best known is Novak's partner at the Rivery in Georgetown, which is a Sheraton Conference Hotel, as well as that whole retail mixed-use development there. We're working closely with Novak Cobalt right now on a Marble Falls Conference Center project that's expected to be announced next spring. And we've talked to Sean about all kinds of stuff here. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Guy and let him go forward.
Thank you all very much, Mayor, board members. Guy Dudley, Stone Development Group. We're out of Austin, and for that great intro from Eric. One of the things I think that we like to do is we're here to build stuff. Unlike a bunch of guys that I feel that are in the development community, I grew up in the construction side. I didn't come from the real estate side. I grew up with boots in the field, and that is the part of what I love. One of the things we talk about, we've got the principal team, which includes Tom Moat, which Eric spoke about, and myself. We are the principal partners of Stone Cobalt joint venture. We brought in KSA for the engineering and architecture, and Bob Springer with REAC Austin as our real estate team. And so between the four of us, we feel we have a pretty good handle on what's going to go on over here. One of the things I love Aaron said, spot on. This is all about relationships. This is about getting with people for what they need to get done, for what they want to get done, and how we can find ways to do it. We are at the pleasure of the board. We are here at a piece of land. It's an asset that y'all have that we are trying to use to make the city of Bastrop better. I grew up here in Central Texas. I mean, I spent, now I don't know if this is good or bad, because I spent 2 or 3 summers at Lost Pines, and I know that some of those nights we came into Bastrop and caused problems before we ran back to camp. But, I mean, I've been around this place, and I've watched it grow up. And we talked about as well, you know, Aaron, going to tie him back into this. 10 years ago when they were here, how this is going to be a growth. Coming in here, you know, we were just talking with Sean earlier about how Leander, 10 years ago, what did Leander look like? And I think Bastrop is just about, I mean, you're already exploding. Look at how the growth and look at the traffic. A lot of people hate the traffic. I love the traffic. It helps me pay bills. I want traffic. I need traffic. So this is what we're trying to do. Our team, Tom Moat has a lot of experience doing P3, working with partnerships with municipalities. I bring in the development and construction. We do in-house construction. So that's what I'm bringing in the team. Eric, architecture and engineering, and and Bob Springer, the end of it. the real estate side. So I think as this whole package, we can bring it together. So here's our 8-step plan, very important here. Thing we're here tonight to start talking about it, obviously this is going to go into the executive session, approve our LOI. One of the things that we've talked to a few people informally about this, but we haven't officially been allowed to talk about it because it's not ours. So we'd like to get that step rolling so we can get it going. Secure the tenants, have the EDC approve. This is your building, working on it together. What we're envisioning, and this all can change, but what we're envisioning is about 4,500 square feet of office upstairs and about 4,500 square feet of retail restaurant downstairs. So there, like I said, there are some, I don't say major, there are some regional people we're talking to, but unofficially. Once we get those guys approved tenant, then the lending can close out. We'll close the land, we'll start the design, we'll do the construction, and then very important, number 8, send friends and acquaintances to your great new location. So need to make sure of that. Quick little schedule, 50,000 square foot view. We're thinking end of the first quarter of 19, we can be done. Everybody open, everything done. That's assuming 10 months worth of construction, assuming only a month getting through the city of Bastrop. Fortunately, this is not the city of Austin. And yes, I know this is recorded and live streamed. They can listen to me. Because they're still going to say no to me and shut me down. And there too. It just how fast we can get people here. And again, I should just put you in the presentation to begin with, Aaron. I agree wholeheartedly. The fact of where Bastrop is, where it is poised to be, and where it's looking to grow to, is one of the reasons that Tom and I, when we looked at this project with Eric, this is great. This is a great town and a great place, and I think we're poised to do some great things there. So that's our quick little schedule. So there you go. New office commercial space, new restaurant and retail downtown. Back to the point of the mission statement of the EDC. We want to increase the number of jobs downtown, and we want to be able to be a position that brings more money into the city, which then will help cycle more jobs downtown and more money into the city and just help with that cycle. So, do y'all have any questions? Yes. I did my job. Perfect. Thank y'all very much.
You got it.
So going on to item 3.6, consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve Resolution R-2017-0019 of the Bastrop EDC, expanding the scope for the Technology Drive MLK infrastructure project to include street, water, wastewater, drainage, and other utilities for the Technology Drive MLK extension, and including funding for the fiber trunk main and maintenance in the business park.
So y'all have a memo and resolution in your packet, and the board previously has already approved a resolution to construct the MLK, or the Technology MLK infrastructure project, which is an extension of Technology Drive in the business park. This is going to be the new 911 communications center for the county. This is the county jail. This is DigTech, LineTech, the northern edge of that. But extending technology up to MLK, installing a water line down from the jail and creating a loop system into the park, as well as extending wastewater up to service this 10.5 acres here. When we had the hydrology study done for the park, one of the things we excluded from the project that was approved was the stormwater detention as we worked through the land sale for Lot A1 that we're working on. At this point, Sam and I met with Tracy Waldron, the Director of Finance for the City of Bastrop, and for the ease of this project, from the 2013 Certificate of Obligations, it was brought to our attention that there's $429,000 remaining in that bond fund that was for the Southern Technology Drive project. And Tracy would like for us to utilize that money for this project first before we get into using fund balance. It has a limited purpose to city assets. Bond counsel provided us a interpretation of that a few weeks ago, and included with this project was, in this extension of this project, was an error that was an oversight on everybody's part until it was, we went to pay the bill. We installed a dark fiber trunk main with board approval in the park, intending to use the 2013 Certificate of Obligation bond funds. Once we got it complete and went to go pay the bill, it was clarified that we could not use those 13 bond funds because it was, the system's not owned by the city of Bastrop. And so we've gone back, and Sam and I met with Tracy and said, hey, we've got $429,000. We're getting ready to let this project, let's go ahead and just expand the scope. And it actually is going to be a fund balance savings for the EDC at the end of the day here. So in the expansion of the scope, we're recommending that we go ahead and include the drainage here as $100,000 of the $429,000 available. The remaining $329,000 will go to the technology MLK project that is already approved. Then $1.270588 will come from fund balance for technology and MLK, and then additionally adding to this the $154,800 for the fiber install. It actually ends up saving the EDC $329,000, I believe is what the number is, in cash of fund balance by using these funds. But in order to make this expanded project and to allocate these funds, we have to go back and have a new resolution read. And so that is the 2017-19 resolution. This is kind of hard to explain, and I'm doing the best that I can. That we could have done this through some budget amendments in a more complicated process, but as we visited with everybody, just expanding the scope of the existing project that was already funded and approved was actually going to be easier than the alternative, which was a series of budget maneuvers to correct this, and we're able to do it all in one clean swoop through this resolution. Tracy Bratton walked in the room. This also allows us to go ahead in the next item to look at doing the professional service agreement for the scope of work for this and to get our engineering started on it. And there was a considerable savings in the cost of engineering by going ahead and including the detention pond in there. It's $8,000 under the opinion of probable cost for engineering for the road, and then there is no additional cost in that for the stormwater. And so we're going to pick up some cost savings on the engineering side by consolidating all of these projects. And I'm glad to answer any questions. I know this was complicated. I was hoping the chart on page 2 of your memo would kind of explain the allocation of funds. It was truly the dark fiber issue in the bond funds. When we asked if we could use the funds, the answer was yes. When we went to go pay the bill, the answer was, hold on a minute, we need to double check this, and it turned out it was not going to be an authorized expense.
So the only thing we're really adding to this is just the drainage, which we had discussed before,
and then
just reallocating the funds where they're coming from, correct?
Correct, and using less fund balance because we're able to tap into all $429,000 of the bond funds.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. So you've zeroed out your COs for 2013 with
this would zero out our 2013 COs.
And that makes Ms. Waldron happy.
That would make Ms. Waldron very happy. Okay. And I'm hoping to help her with the rest of that later. So.
Okay, so if we're basically just changing the funds over, we're going to be using the 2013 to use on this project. How are we going to pay for the dark fiber? Where's that money coming from?
We'll use fund balance from it. So we're going to offset part of the original 1.6 with the 13 COs, and then take some of that balance to pay. Yes, correct. So we're going to use the CO money first for the eligible expenses, and then the non-eligible expenses such as the fiber will come out of fund balance first. I know that's complicated.
I move to approve Resolution R2017-0019.
A second.
It's approved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Now going over to item 3.7, consideration, discussion, and possible action on Resolution R 2017-0020 of the Bastrop EDC to enter into a professional services agreement contract with Bowman Consulting for the Technology Drive/MLK infrastructure project.
So Tracy Bratton is here from Bowman Consulting tonight. When we were putting the previous item together, it became apparent that if we could consolidate all of those projects together, letting the engineering for the drainage and the street and water and wastewater at the same time seemed like a good idea. And Tracy will remind me again at some point, this is only the third time that I've had him put this scope together. It was together, I had him break it apart, and then I had him put it back together. And by having the bond money available, it makes sense to go ahead and engineer the drainage, which we have the engineering savings for the draining project, plus looking at the original opinion of probable cost for the street, we're $121,000 instead of $129,000. It looks like it's running about 7% of project, which is a very fair rate for engineering. And so it is staff's recommendation to go ahead and approve Resolution 2017-0020 to sign the professional services agreement for the project engineering.
Sean, in our packet, Exhibit D is evidence of insurance, and it was blank, and in my understanding, that's because he has to get the job, and then he gets the certificate of insurance, so he has 10 days to produce that.
Correct, that is how that works. We do have the certificate from the last one he did, so they actually do send us the certificate.
I know you do, or they don't get paid.
Are there any comments?
I'll move that we approve Resolution R 2017-0020.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. The Bastrop EDC Board of Directors will meet in a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, to discuss the following. Section 551-071A and Section 551-071-2, consultations with the attorney, threatened and/or contemplated claims, causes, or litigation and/or matters upon which the attorney has a duty and/or responsibility to advise or report to the governmental body. Number 2, Section 551-072, deliberation about the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property 921 Main Street and/or 108 South Jackson Street. Section 3, 551-087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations 921 Main Street and/or Project Be Well.
Colin, are you ready?
The Bastrop EDC Board of Directors will reconvene into open session to discuss, consider, and/or take any action necessary related to the executive sessions noted herein.
I would like to move that we authorize legal counsel to prepare a letter of intent based on the business points presented by Stone Cobalt and the executive director to execute. Oh, and authorize the executive director to execute. Here over there.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It carries. Congratulations. Yes, to everybody. A lot of work. We are adjourned.
He's ready to go. I just talked to him on the way here. He goes, when can I go? I said, maybe